My name is Shane Faulkner, founder of End of Days Distillery. Today, we're going to take you on a virtual tour of the distillery. We will share a piece of history, the process of making award-winning spirits, and show you our unique space. Hopefully, you'll have a chance to visit. But until then, let's go. When you drive up to the distillery, you will notice the building is round, like a barrel. It's called a Clonza Hut. It was constructed in the 1940s after World War II and was designed after the aviation-style buildings during the war. Now, for the last 20 years, it's changed hands several times, but served as a furniture restoration business until they retired. We took possession of the building April 15th, 2019, and began the restoration process. We tried to keep many of the original elements, the windows, the doors, wood, and then incorporate those elements that would bring life and feel to EOD. You'll notice the shipping containers that serve as our hallway and our boiler room. We have tried to source many of the items in the building locally, including the pecan wood for our table, our bar stools, down to the very barrels, grains, and corn used in our spirits. We won the 2020 Preservation Award from the Historic Wilmington Foundation for the category of adaptive reuse. As we go through the building, you will notice how we used cargo containers, lots of recycled metal, glass, and reclaimed wood. Now standing in our lounge where we created a unique space with multiple areas to sit back, relax, and enjoy the day. We also have our beautiful cocktail bar that allows our guests to enjoy handcrafted cocktails. In addition to our lounge, we wanted to share a unique space outside where we can enjoy the shade and beautiful weather Wilmington is known for. We recycled used whiskey barrels as our tables, installed a brick patio which serves as the perfect place to relax in the afternoon shade. As we walk through the hallway, you'll notice our kitchen to my left and the copper still to my right. We are currently using a 500-gallon pot still named George Tilley after my grandfather. The kitchen was our laboratory where the magic happens in creating unique compounds for our gins, our whiskey trials, and limited edition items, small batch distillations, and of course our tastings. We quickly learned that the cocktail bar needed additional prep space because we make so many of the products we use in-house, such as our tonics, our syrups, cherries, vanilla extract, and our to-go cocktails. We finally built a new laboratory in the back to accommodate the growth of the distillery and the lounge. As we walk in the back, this area is known as the DSP, or Distilled Spirits Plant. You'll notice a significant temperature change throughout the year. We actually want these extreme changes in order to produce unique spirit. It affects our fermentation temperatures, our maturation or the aging process, and helps the barrels to impart specific flavors in our aged products. Behind me is our 1,000-gallon mash tun. This is basically a large pot that allows us to add water, grain, and heat to a specific temperature based on our recipes. The mash is heated with the steam from the container in the back that holds our 2 million BTU boiler. Now, many of the grains that we use come from North Carolina. We've partnered with farmers across North Carolina for our corn, with Riverbend Malt House in Asheville to provide some of the more unique malts needed to produce our American single malts and our whiskeys. We've also partnered with local farmers to take our spent grains to feed their cows, pigs, and chicken. The mashing in of grains begins the process of converting starches and carbohydrates into fermentable sugars. Once the conversion process is done, the mash is then pumped into the fermenters and then yeast is added. All of the tanks lined up to my left are fermentation vessels that allow the yeast to consume the sugar and in turn produce CO2 and alcohol. The CO2 escapes out of the top, protects the fermentation from contamination, and then ultimately leaves the building. Now, depending on what's being fermented, you can sometimes smell bread, hints of smoke from the pecan smoked malt, or the sweet smell of molasses and cane sugar. Now, once the fermentation process is complete, we transfer the distiller's beer from the fermenters to the 500-gallon pot still. Once again, we use the steam from the boiler to bring the temperature somewhere around 175 degrees, which is the boiling point for alcohol. Now we distill on the grain, which means that we do not strain the contents before we add to the still. We believe we get exceptional results by distilling on the grain. As the vapors come in contact with the copper, it naturally removes the sulfates. Now, as the vapors condense, they go through from a vapor to a liquid and then pour out of the spout into our collection vessel. From there, depending on what is being made, it may go into a barrel, a bottle, or through our filter, which would clean and polish our vodka. Now, if the product goes into a barrel, it's stored in our rick house or racks, which holds approximately 148 barrels. We use 53-gallon barrels from Speyside Cooperage, which are the same barrels that they use to make scotch, except we use a medium toast No. 3 char. We also experiment with small barrels for advanced aging techniques. We are currently aging our rum, American single malt, our whiskey, rye, and of course our bourbon. So what does End of Days mean? The name was born after an evening of conversation around a backyard fire where my friends and I were sharing stories and passing a bottle of something special. I noticed that many of the stories about love, life, kids, the future, all concluded with, "at the end of the day," a phrase that perfectly summed up the situation and conversation. At the end of the day, who do you want to be? How do you want to be remembered? What's your mark on the world? What do you reflect on? What are you proud of? What will you remember? These are all part of what End of Days Distilling stands for. We hope you enjoyed our virtual tour and hope you get a chance to visit personally. Enjoy the space and handcrafted cocktail. Until then, grab a bottle of our award-winning spirits from your local ABC store or visit our website at eoddistillery.com.